reading me the line. You need to explain the math that's going on in between the line. If you need to know how to do that, go to my YouTube channel and watch me do one. Okay? All right, here we go. So we are going to do differentiating sine, cosine, e to the x, and natural log of x. This is the whatchamacallit. So this is, it's very, very basic today. I took the stuff from yesterday's homework or yesterday's notes that we didn't see in the homework, and I combined it with this stuff for the homework tonight, because this is super basic. There's not a lot we can do with it until we learn some more derivative rules, and we're not going to be ready for those derivative rules till the next unit, some of them. But we're going to learn some more exciting derivative rules on Monday. So it tells us here that we have, it actually explicitly gives us the derivative of sine and cosine. I am not going to prove them to you. You're going to take my word for it that they work. I could use the limiting process and do that, but we're not going to mess with it. We're just going to say, hey, these are the rules. So the derivative of sine is cosine, and the derivative of cosine is negative sine. Notice on the cosine, it's negative when we take the derivative, okay? At some point, we will probably do a Kahoot or a game somewhere once we have a whole bunch of these derivatives that have to be memorized, and play a game with it, okay, or something, because you have to be quick at these. These are like, my son is out there and he's constantly watching the videos of all the multiples, like counting by 5s and counting by 7s. The teacher has him constantly watching those. I wish I had one of those for, maybe, I don't know, I haven't checked YouTube. I need one of those for the derivatives. You guys hear it to like some beat over and over again, okay? Because we have a whole list of these things we have to know for the test, okay? And unfortunately, I don't have time to make my own, so, or musical ability or talent, okay, to make my own. So find the derivative of each of the following. So literally, I'm just going to find those derivatives, and it's not super exciting at all. So the derivative of sine, the 2 is a coefficient at front, so that's what I get, and the derivative of sine is cosine x. It's as simple as that. Okay. This one here, maybe relook at it as 1/2 sine x, and then isn't it the same thing as we just did? It would be y prime equals 1/2 cosine x. That's it. Okay. They may add some of the algebraic derivatives in there with it, so I've got to take the derivative of x. So help me out in the chat, because I haven't heard from many of you yet. What is the derivative of x? Put it in the chat, because I'm going to stop doing a lot of the work, extra work I was doing on those. All right, I'm hoping there's, oh good, there's delay. I've got a few. I have 2 that are questioning it, and 3 that are questioning it, and 1 that's confident. Oh, 2 that are confident, 3 that are confident. Hopefully my question marks are becoming more confident as they're seeing the ones that are going in there. It is in fact 1, right? That one you just got to know. You see x, you know it's 1, okay? Really, again, what's going on is you're taking the 1, bringing it to the front, right? And then subtracting 1 off the exponent. Anything to the 0 power is 1, so you get 1 times 1, which is 1. Okay, so cosine or derivative of x is 1. If there was a number in front of the x, it would be that number. All right, let's see if you've learned anything, since I only heard from 6 people that time. I need to hear from more this time. Let's see if you've learned anything since you've been here. Big hint, the answer to this next question is on the page. What is the derivative of cosine of x? Hint, look at the blue box. All right. 2, 4, 6 so far have found it. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, we're doing better. Okay, so we're paying attention. That's good. We're almost half of us have found it so far. So negative sine x, and that's it. So we should be able to handle this. I highly recommend doing the homework tonight, okay? Because it's not very long, because I didn't have enough stamina to type up a whole bunch of problems. And it's pretty easy, okay? All right, so we're going to find the derivative of the natural exponential function, all right? So we got to find the derivative of each of the following. Check this out. The derivative of e to the x is e to the x. That's the best one ever to memorize. Okay? You don't have to memorize anything. You see e to the x, it's e to the x. All right? So let's look at the derivatives. So y prime equals, I'm going to keep the 5 and the derivative of e to the x is e to the x. All right? Let's take the derivative of this next one. Okay? Derivative of e to the x is e to the x. Derivative of negative 4x would just be negative 4. And do you see how I'm not writing down all the little steps? I expect you at this point, you've got those polynomial derivatives. We've been doing them for a couple days. I hope you have them. They weren't that difficult. Okay? All right, here's what I want you to do. Look at C. Don't put anything in the chat till I say it. So try C on your own on your paper. Okay? All right. I'm going to have you now type it in the chat. What did you get for C? Put it in the chat right now. See how we did. Right or wrong, let me know you're participating by putting your answer to C in the chat. Noelle, I appreciate the notation. Good job. I'm liking what I'm seeing. So you're telling me you guys have been keeping up with what we're doing. So that's a really, really good thing. Okay, hopefully you figured out this far and you have to watch the lesson every day. If you don't, you're going to be really lost when you come in the next day, right? And so this week you've had the advantage of 2 days in a row, but you've got to keep up with it every day. All right, e to the 7x, and then the derivative cosine is negative sine x. Perfect job, you guys. All right, let's take a look at the next one. So we've got another one, the natural log of x. So the derivative of the natural log of x is 1 over x. And again, you got to memorize that we see this one all the time, okay? All the time. AP loves this one. So we got to make sure we can do it. So I would make sure highlight box, whatever you're doing to annotate your notes. So let's take a look at example 3 here. Notice it puts together the natural log of x with e to the x with cosine. This is a really easy way for me to ask one question on the test instead of 3 separate questions and make sure you understand all 3 things. Okay, so 100% guarantee you're going to see that. I did that to them last year. I think for the first time ever, I did a question like that last year because I finally moved. We used to not do the e to the x and the natural log x till second semester. And the College Board has emphasized that it should be taught early on. So I moved it to early on, which I don't think this is that big of a deal. All right, so let's take a look at this. I'm going to take, I know the 3 is a coefficient. I know the derivative natural log of x is 1 over x. I'm keeping the 2. I know derivative of e to the x is e to the x. Ooh, tricky, watch this. So I've got the negative 1/2. And the derivative of cosine is negative sine x. Now, I purposely changed colors so you could see what happened with the derivative of that cosine. So let's clean it up just a little bit. I know that this guy could be written as 3 over x. In fact, most of the time, because I've done this a really long time, I will just typically go right to that when I see the natural log. Whatever the coefficient is goes on the top, and the x goes on the bottom. I didn't have to clean that up. Double negative goes positive. 1/2 sine x. Okay. Ready for another one? We got another one. This is the one that nobody ever memorizes, okay? It's part technically, it wasn't in our essential question, right? We didn't look at a common log. We only looked at natural log. Natural log is very, very, very popular on the AP test. We are technically still responsible for this one. It's just not as common on the AP test. That doesn't mean it's not fair game. You could see it, okay? So it is entirely possible that we see something like this on the test. Of course, I didn't give any. All right, so the derivative of the natural log of, or the log base b of x is 1 over the natural log of b times x. All right, so all I'm going to do for that, y prime equals, I see log base 4 of x. I put a 1 on the top, natural log of the number times x. And I don't know what it is about that one that we have a hard time memorizing it. Even years I've taught it over and over, we have a hard time keeping that one straight. But you just got to know it. And then obviously we'll eventually go backwards. We aren't ready for backwards yet. All right, let's look at b. We're now combining two different ones together. So f prime of x equals 1 over x minus 6 times 1 over, so for this piece here, it'd be natural log of 2 times x. And again, I could have written it as 6 over the natural log of 2 times x. Please do not try to cancel the 2 and the 6. That is not the way this works. The 2 is inside the natural log. Remember, natural log of the number is just a number. It's a decimal point number. I could put that in my calculator and it's some decimal point, like point something. Okay? All right, so hopefully not too bad and too hard yet. I don't think it's going to get super hard today. Remember this stuff, our favorite, right? The limit of the derivative, or the limit process to get the derivative. So remember that. We're going to practice this a little bit more with our shortcut, okay? And looking at what it looks like in the shortcut. So I kind of stuck it in here again, so because it does come up in the multiple choice, and I don't want you to have to do the limit process in the multiple choice. So if I do put one of these on one of your tests, I don't expect to put on one of the like in-class tests, not your video test. I would expect you to use the shortcut, okay? And notice all these things kind of look the same. We've got delta x, or we've got, this should have been an h in the bottom. We've got, as it approaches h approaches 0, so we've got h plus c. I think we had an x in there in our other one, except instead of the c. It's all the same thing. It's the same formula over and over, just with different variables. All right, so recognizing the derivative. So looking at what happened here, it's a little bit different take than what we had the other day, okay? So notice they had set a c in here because they actually plugged the c value in. Okay, so instead of the x's, they plugged the c value in. So what they're really asking us to do is to evaluate the derivative for c. So it's a little bit different than what we did the other day. So if I kind of followed the steps from the other day, it said cross everything out that isn't the x plus h. That's technically the x plus h part, okay? I could replace that with the x plus h, right? Sine of x plus h. So if I thought about it like that, and then we remember our step was replace that with an x. So what I am doing is I am taking the derivative of sine of x, and then I'm going to evaluate it for pi, or pi over 3. So let's take that, let's call this f of x. Let's take the derivative of it. So f prime of x equals, all right, tell me in the chat, what's the derivative of sine of x? Quick! Good job, cosine of x. Awesome job. All right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute in this pi over 3. So I'm evaluating for pi over 3. And so I have cosine of pi over 3. All right. Since we do have extra time today, right, because I'm going pretty quick through this lesson, right? We don't get out till 40. Tell me really quick in the chat. Take a couple minutes. Dig out your unit circle. Tell me what the cosine of pi over 3 is before I do it with you. Okay? Cosine of pi over 3. Interesting. All right, I'm a little concerned about our unit circles. So I'm going to pull out my unit circle here from my brain. I know I go out 1 and up 0. And I know that sine is the y coordinate. I'm going to count just this first quadrant. 1, 2, 3, right? That's my easy way to do it. I know that this one is, and this is just the y coordinate because that's all I'm concerned with. I know that that meridian measure is pi over 6. I know that's pi over 4. I know this one is pi over 3. Everything has a square root over the top and a 2 on the bottom. Thank you, Christian. Hopefully we would now like to revise our answers, that it is the square root of 3 over 2. Okay? So we got to be careful. You have to know your unit circle. It's a really good idea if you understand how to write out that first quadrant. It doesn't come up a ton, but you need that first quadrant. It's important to understand that. Okay? All right. Let's look at the next one. Okay? So this one is the other form of the derivative. So I'm going to scroll back up and look at the... Oh, it does say cosine, doesn't it? Interesting. We were finding the cosine. Thank you for catching that. All right. You guys were right. I'm looking at the answer key for somebody, actually I borrowed this question from someone else, and they wrote the wrong answer. All right. I looked at the sine. You guys were right. You guys are really good. Thank you for pointing that out. So, because I looked at the bad answer key. At least I'm confident, I'm really excited that I'm not the only one that makes mistakes in their answer keys, because I'm looking at this other teacher who I would trust more than myself, and there's a mistake in his answer key. You guys are right. This is 1/2 has got to be the other coordinate. So I am totally wrong. Look, I even made it in red pen for ourselves. Okay. So you guys are really good. Thank you. 1/2. All right. Let's move on. All right. So now that I've messed up for the day. So let's look at this derivative at a point. Okay. So I want you to examine the formula with me. Okay. They're putting the evaluation of the C value in there, the C value, so what we're going to evaluate at is after the X. Notice the function is first. So instead of having to do the whole process, we're going to try to take a shortcut on that. All right, so let's look at that again. So based on that, tell me in the chat, what is the function I am taking the derivative of? So looking at this guy here, what's the function I'm taking the derivative? Don't take the derivative yet. Just tell me what function I'm taking the derivative of. All right, I've got a couple of votes for natural log of x. All right, so remember the formula we saw up there. I'm going to write it down here so you can compare it a little bit better. So it's f of x minus f of c over x minus c. So the function is in the front. That's my function right there. The 1 is what happens when I evaluate my function at c. So once we figure out what our c value is, I'll explain that piece. Okay. Now that we know that the function is natural log of x, what is my c value? Tell me in the chat. It looks weird. It's a weird looking number. Compare where the c is in the denominator of the formula to the denominator in the problem. So what's my c value? All right, you guys are looking in the right place. I'm seeing some going back between positive e and negative e. All right, so I want you to look at the formula. And this is how you tell from the formula. Do you see how the formula already has a negative and this has a negative? So that means we would use positive e as the evaluation. So this is our c value. Okay, so we're looking at the function that we're taking the derivative of is natural log of x, and our c value is e. Okay, before I actually do that, let me explain the 1. So that was supposed to be the function evaluated at c. So let's look at the function evaluated at e, would be the natural log of e. Okay, so tell me what we remember from last year. And it was the very last thing. We just took a test on it. Literally, if you were in the trig class, we took a test on it. We did Pi Day, and actually, I don't think we even took the retest on it, right? We took the retest like virtually. So what happens with e and natural log? What's special about that relationship? Nice, they cancel out, but when we're left behind, there's always an exponent of 1 in there. So they cancel out and the answer is 1. So that's why there's a 1 in this back piece. Okay? All right. So now that we've explained the little bit of algebra that's there, let's actually do the calculus, okay? Because it's way more fun than the algebra. All right, so we're going to take the derivative. The derivative of the natural log of x would be 1 over x. And now I'm going to evaluate that at e. So f prime of e equals 1 over e. And that's a very typical answer to see an e in an answer. You're going to see it at least a few times on the AP test. Okay? Hey, the good news is that is it for topic 2.7. All right. Are there any questions that you guys have? I will try to post the video, okay? Give me a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of rendering time, okay? I will, and if I don't have it up, bug me about it, okay? Not in 5 minutes, okay? All right, I'm gonna hit the stop recording button now, so maybe in about